Hockey is back, and so are the Blackhawks. They're in Dallas tonight to face the Stars and hopefully end their 6-game losing streak. Lineups and more coming up next on the CHGO Blackhawks pregame show. Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks pregame show. Hawks in Dallas tonight. We are presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use our code CHGO365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. I'm Jay Zawoski. That's Mario Tirabassi. Hope everyone had a great and restful Christmas holiday season. We are back at it. Hockey is here. We got the Hawks in Dallas tonight. Back home against Pittsburgh tomorrow. And as we are awaiting the lineups to come out, we do see that Arvid Soderblom will get the start in goal for the Hawks tonight. So before we hear from Jeff Blashill, initial thoughts on that one, Mario?
Well, he's got to play one of the games, either tomorrow or tonight. So you feel like maybe your better chance to win is tomorrow at home against Pittsburgh. So you give Spencer Knight that assignment, and you kind of roll the dice tonight. See what happens. You don't have a favorable matchup anyway, so why burn your better goalie on the less favorable matchup? I would say.
Yeah, so, you'll never get a coach to admit that it is a it's potentially punting on this game, but it does sort of feel like we've got a better chance to beat Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. Let's give ourselves the best chance to beat Pittsburgh and go for it. Again, no one will ever admit that. But we all know, wink, wink, that's what it is.
Yeah, I think we've seen enough of Spencer Knight and Arvid Soderblom play over the last 2-3 seasons that which is the goalie that's going to give you the better chance to win.
Yes. All right, do us a favor, hit that like button, and be sure to subscribe, and set yourself a reminder when a game ends. We will be here for your full post-game show. But let's send it down. This was about an hour ago. Jeff Blashill met the media down in Dallas, and here's what he had to say. This is courtesy of the Chicago Blackhawks.
Moore and Lardis haven't gotten a ton of playing time these past 2 games. Is there going to be any more effort to kind of get a little bit more time for them out of the break, or do you see this as worthwhile?
No, those are game-by-game decisions, but I wouldn't say we're going in there with a concerted effort that they should play more. Ultimately, I think the players ultimately dictate how much they play, and the better you play, generally, the more you get. Certainly, I think, in Lardis' case, certainly he's had pretty good opportunities since he's been up, including, a good amount of time on the power play, including the top unit. So they're just both got to keep kind of within the role that they have, trying to be as good as they can, and that'll dictate the ice time.
Any update with Foligno?
He's getting really close. I would say there's a potential for tomorrow, but we'll know more tomorrow. But there's a potential for tomorrow.
With Moore, you mentioned that maybe he can be a little hard on himself sometimes, but I talked to him about that, and he was like, I don't think I'd be here if I wasn't hard on myself. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like there's a balance kind of there?
I think part of what makes him great is that he's hard on himself, and he's demanding of himself, and that's why he wants to be a great player. And part of, like anybody's strengths, they're usually a little bit of their weaknesses, and he's hard on himself. And so, that's those things kind of, he's just got to continue to find that balance. I think he's working really hard to be a great player in this league. He's a really young guy who's, in the very first kind of stretch of playing in this league on a regular basis. And as we all know, this is the best league in the world for a reason. And so he'll keep grinding. I got full faith that he's going to continue to improve and get better. He's certainly going to have ups and downs, but I love the desire that he has there, and I wouldn't trade the desire for anything. He just, again, I think as he learns to kind of manage that balance.
Is there anything you think you could do to get a little more production?
I don't necessarily think about it necessarily with production. I think one of the things that he's got to do is continue to work on just slowing down with the puck a little bit. He's such a hard worker that, and I think he needs to use that tenacity away from when he doesn't have the puck. When he has the puck, I just think he needs to take that extra second, either take a scan early to know what he's doing with the puck before he gets it, or take that extra second to make sure he's making a play that he sees and not a hope play.
With Lardis, you mentioned after last game just about his spacing and even just falling, maybe shading out of the dots a little bit. Is it him just I guess finding the different space, or playing further a little?
Yeah, I think that's something that will help him. Certainly we've talked to him about on the power plays, those examples, and then some of it's just a learned process of going through where you learn how to, and that's just what the the reality is that these guys are getting valuable minutes because they're in those opportunities to try to figure out how can I best create my space for myself, and that just takes time. It takes time, and he'll continue to hopefully continue to try to find ways to give himself the best opportunities to use his offensive ability.
This is the start of 21 games in 40 days. How do you balance?
Nice break after though.
But obviously it's pretty jammed in there. How do you balance practice and balancing rest and everything?
Yeah, it's a hard stretch. Last month was a hard stretch. This month's a harder stretch. I think March is a harder stretch. March is a harder stretch. So how do you balance it? We'll practice on, what is today, Saturday? We'll practice on Monday, and it's in 3 and 4. It's not perfect, but we're going to get something done in that day. You're just going to have to balance between when the guys need a mental break, when they need a physical break, and when you need to continue to work on your habits and your structure. And what happens when you don't practice is you lose those habits and structure. You can see it. I talked to Rick talking before the game the other night, and we both talked about when you don't practice, you can see it happening with your team. But if they're tired, that's no good either. So there's a balance there that, thankfully, I've been at this a long time in this league, so I understand that trying to kind of the feel part of that balance is important, and we'll continue to try to feel it out the best we can.
You guys are tied for the league lead in bench minors this year. A few of those are probably lost challenges, but a few are too many men as well. Is that something you've looked at of trying to be smoother with the line changes? Do you think there's anything?
I don't know. Yeah, I'd have to remember how many of the too many men. I don't know that. But I can tell you. If you can't find it, I sure as heck can't find it. I can tell you. There's preventable penalties, and too many men on the ice is a preventable penalty, and so that's an area we have to. The one the other night ultimately cost us, and it cost us a goal. And so, sometimes sometimes it's on the coach for maybe changing guys at the last minute or whatever, and sometimes a player just jumps early, and it's just either way, regardless whose fault it is, they're ones that are totally preventable. And one of the things we got to do a better job the second half of the year is eliminating the preventable penalties. We've taken too many penalties through the course of the first part of this year, and so it'll be a continued focus to prevent those. Some penalties are going to happen, but those preventable ones you can't have.
You said you've been around a long time, and it just, I guess, with having no morning skates and 3 days break, any ways that any guards that you guys just aren't rusty?
I've been in this spot a lot where you travel the day after the break, and I've done it every way. We've skated at home and traveled. We've gone to places and skated. Those two options didn't work, so I'm going to try this one here where we didn't skate. The way that the schedule was for us, the length of the flight, it just didn't feel right to skate super early in the morning. Didn't feel right to get here and skate. They're hard days regardless. But we gotta, again, it's just part of the deal, and you gotta find a way. And hopefully, our guys had enough time today to kind of, get into the hotel and do what they need to do to get themselves ready for the game.
All right, that was Jeff Flashel, courtesy of the Blackhawks. Lots of good stuff there. Here's your Hawks lineup for tonight. Just got some news that Ilya Mikheyev is a scratch. Don't know if he's under the weather or banged up, but he will not play tonight.
Probably leads to the reason that Landon Slaggert earlier today was called up.
And Landon Slaggert, in being called up, is promoted to the top line. He is on the right wing with Jason Dickinson at center and Tyler Bertuzzi. You've got Donato, Teravainen, and Burakovsky. I would call that the first line, probably. Green, Moore, and Doc. And Toninato, Lardis, and Lafferty. Your D pairs, Vlasic and Crevier, Grzelcyk, Levshinov, Kaiser, and Murphy. And again, Arvid Soderblom in goal for the Hawks. So They are definitely up against it tonight against the Dallas Stars. This is one of these lineups that is reminiscent of the Remember When file that we created many years ago with Jujhar Khaira on Power Play One.
They didn't have Connor Bedard and Frank Nazar, and Landon Slaggert was called up to be on the first line.
Yes.
Remember when? Yeah, I think that goes in the file.
Yeah, I mean, and now it really makes sense why you're going with Arvid tonight, because you're really up against it. I don't know how huge of a difference Mikheyev makes, but he is their best penalty killer.
He makes a difference.
He is fast. Can create some offense. So, yeah, this very much feels like the old puntathon from with the Hawks playing Pittsburgh tomorrow. Have Spencer Knight start at home against a more beatable team in Pittsburgh, and that's why Soderblom's got to play. But, boy,
hopefully,
it's going to be a rough one.
Hopefully Mikheyev, whatever's the reason that he's out, if it is illness or whatever, hopefully he didn't make the one-day trip, because just stay home and rest and be ready to go tomorrow if possible. That would be great. We also heard from Blashill that Nick Foligno not going to go tonight, but is getting closer. Maybe tomorrow. We'll see. Doesn't seem like he might be trying to push himself to get back ahead of the schedule that he needs to be on to be fully healthy and ready to go. That could be the case. I don't blame him for where the team's at and realizing, hey, rather than playing Dominic Toninato and Landon Slaggert, I'm probably more serviceable out there.
I don't want him getting rehurt, though.
But one-wristed Nick Foligno is not going to help this team. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting tonight. I think someone in the chat was saying, this lineup plus Soderblom plus something else equals guaranteed loss. I say nay. Hockey is so stupid that after the holiday break, on the road for a one-day road trip, literally they flew into Dallas today with this lineup, with Arvid Soderblom facing the Stars and Jake Ottinger. Darn it, they're going to win this game. Because hockey is stupid like that. They're going to win this game. You can clip it and write it down. And if I'm wrong, duh, of course I was going to be wrong.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to steal your thunder, so I'm going to let you have that take. And I'm just going to say, hope everyone has a fun time. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone comes out of it healthy and everyone has a fun time. And look, This is a definitely test of the mettle of Blackhawks fans right now. Without Bedard, without Nazar, you're playing against one of the strongest teams in the West, one of the strongest teams in the league. Both teams fresh, but the Hawks had to travel. It's tough. This is a very tough pill to swallow, and I think it's extra hard because of how the season began. And it was hopeful, and you had them in the playoff race in the middle of December, and then Bedard gets hurt, and then Nazar gets hurt, and now Mikheyev's out, and it's like, crap. Mm-hmm. Like, you had all that momentum, whether you believed or not the Hawks were a playoff team, and I think all of us sort of thought, hey, you know what? They're keeping it interesting. They're certainly better than last year. Mm-hmm. Let's just see what happens if Bedard can keep playing, and if. Now to have this happen so quickly is very jarring and very frustrating, and I totally get it. I get it.
Yeah, I mean,
hey, days like this are what make the eventual payoff worth it.
Eventual. Yeah, I mean, we were kind of in a spot where you're getting used to, okay, no Connor Bedard for at least the rest of the year, 2-3 weeks, whatever it was going to be, and then 2 games later, also Frank Nazar for the next month is out. And it's just like the double whammy while a losing streak is already going on. And yeah, it's a tough spot to be in. And I think, the bright spot is that it's forcing players to step up. And Connor Bedard was accounting for 49% of the team's offense, contributing to 49% of goals either scored or assisting on. So you got to figure out how you're gonna make that up, and that's to the betterment of this group. It's been disappointing that basically none of the veterans have been able to step up and take that spot. the young guys, you're getting more opportunities. Some of them are, at least. So you still have that mentality, and that's what you got to look for in this game, is like, who's going to be the guy to step up and try and start that collective group effort of making up the loss of now Bedard and Nazar and going forward.
All right, we got to hit a break zone. Our first ever pregame ad break. That's very exciting. That means we're doing well. I think so.
I think we had one recently.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
We did? Look at us.
First one of this show.
Yeah, first one today. So stick around for the ad break. It's going to be super entertaining. When we're back, I do want to talk about some of those veterans. I want to talk about the Nick Lardis thing because that needs some attention. And we've got a super chat from Corey we want to get to as well. So stick around. Hit that like button for us. Back in a few minutes on CHGO Blackhawks. Whatever the sport, the app to bet is Circa Sports Illinois. Circa Sports is sports betting the way it should be. They have high betting limits, low holds, and exceptional customer service at Circa Sports Illinois. You can bet on all your favorite teams in every game this season. Just checked out Bears at Niners. The Bears are getting 3. Come on. That's free money, my friends.
Game.
Take it. Do it. Spreads, props, futures, in-game, whatever you like to bet, whatever style you like to bet, they've got it for you at Circa Sports. Fun and bet like a pro anywhere, anytime in Illinois. You can download your new bookie today at circasports.com. You must be 21 or older to play, and if you or somebody you know has a problem with gambling, you can find help by calling 1-800-GAMBLER.
And, of course, 'tis the season for saving at Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake, with hot deals all month long during their year-end sales event. Stop in today and drive home with $0 down and 0 payments until March on all new Chevrolet models. Or, of course, you can check out their selection of over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. With one of Chicagoland's largest Chevy inventories, you're sure to find the perfect vehicle for you. And as one of the top-selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest, they're able to keep their prices competitive, so you know you'll get a great deal. And Ray's Price Promise lets you shop confidently because the price you see is the price you pay. Go see for yourself. Visit our partner at their convenient location right on Route 12 in Fox Lake. Don't miss out on their year-end sales event going on all month long for $0 down and 0 payments until March on all new Chevrolet models. Shop Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake, or you can go to raychevrolet.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Together, let's drive.
All right, we're back on CHGO Blackhawks. Let's get this Corey super chat real quick because he sent it in. We appreciate it as always. Corey says, if McKinnon, Natchez, and Landeskog were all out for the Avs, how many games would they win? Well, we don't know because Chloe's not here, and that's our Avs correspondent. But not as many.
Yeah, not as many, but they still got a guy named Cale Makar that could probably give them some wins.
So your forward group would be your top line would be Brock Nelson with Val Nichushkin and Arturi Lehkonen.
That's better than
Ross Colton, Gavin Brindley, Victor Olofsson, Jack Drury, Joel Kiviranta, Parker Kelly. That is a better team than what the Hawks are rolling out right now.
Probably.
However, it's definitely not a playoff team. It's not.
Yeah.
No, without those 3 guys, no way.
Well, they figured out their goaltending. But yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, you lose 3 of your 4 best players. Things are going to look and feel different. When it's the Avs, it looks and feels different because your depth needs to play above its weight. But you have depth where, okay, it's Brock Nelson is your top guy. Okay, that's fine. Is he gonna be on Team USA for the Olympics? Might happen. That's a quality depth guy. It's different than Bedard and Nazar are out, and your top guys are Bertuzzi and Donato and Burakovsky. And seemingly, those guys aren't aren't offensive generators on their line.
Right.
They're complementary guys. So you have a bunch of complementary guys not complementing anybody. That's the problem. And if you don't have Nazar, if you don't have Bedard, you don't have the guys that are going to drive those lines. And then your depth, you're figuring out what Oliver Moore and Ryan Green and Colton Dock are. at the NHL level. I think we know what Colton Dach is at the NHL level, but what's Ryan Green going to be? What's Oliver Moore going to be? They're literally playing their first year of NHL hockey. And you know what Sam Lafferty is. I think we get an idea of what Landon Slaggert is as a depth guy. And the guy that's down there that I don't believe should be is Nick Lardis.
Yeah.
And I think if you want to put players into positions to succeed, I don't see Nick Lardis playing with Dominic Toninato and Sam Lafferty on the fourth line as a position to succeed for a player who is a shooter, like a guy that's an offensive, a guy that can create offense off of his shot. I think you need to put him with guys that can get him the puck, that can try and match his speed and skill level. And Lafferty's fast. He's not a very skilled guy. Dominic Toninato
perhaps you're forgetting the goal of the year, my friend.
Okay. Yes. That one play was awesome.
Or he had an out-of-body experience.
Yeah. I just don't think this is putting Nick Lardis in a spot that is going to benefit him.
I agree with you.
And I don't want this to become Lucas Reichel, where, you know, we need to figure out more of what Nick Lardis brings at the NHL level. Yes, but I don't think putting a guy who's a 71 goal scorer in the OHL and was point per game in the AHL on the fourth line is best for business.
So a couple people have said it, and Green Eyes most recently says, do you think Blashill just doesn't like Lardis? I don't think it's a personal thing. I think, look, if Connor Bedard and Frank Nazar were healthy, Nick Lardis would probably still be in Rockford.
Mikheyev is out because of the birth of his child.
Oh, plan better.
I was going to say that's better news than him being sick.
That was the red hot Les Grobstein take when Charles Tillman's wife had a baby and he missed a game. You got to plan your intercourse better, Peanut. What's wrong with you? But back to Lardis.
Funny. Okay,
I agree with you. At this point, you've got to be playing him and putting him in positions to win. How and trying to look at it from both sides, right? So I'm imagining Jeff Blashill has a pretty good idea of what Nick Lardis' skill set is. I think part of his mindset is, if I just start throwing these kids into the top, it's sending a message that the results don't matter to the veterans, right? Again, I agree with you. Nick Lardis should be in the top six.
Yeah,
he should be I'm totally with you. I'm trying to figure out where he is coming from, where Jeff Blashill is coming from. So I think he's still trying to create the approach of, hey, this is a meritocracy. You've got to play well to get playing time. And look, Nick Lardis scored his first career goal. Was it last game? Whatever it was recently. But he has not been overly noticeable. Now, the ice time has been limited. The role has been limited. So it's a bit of a chicken or egg thing here with Nick Lardis.
Yeah.
But I do think him saying, hey, ice time has to be earned, it is something he's said since day one. And if they're seeing things on film, and if Jeff Blashill's seeing it, the entire team is seeing it in film sessions, he can't then say, but because Connor's out and because Frank's out, we're just going to put Nick Lardis here anyway. Now, what I would do is, the first time Nick Lardis has a really great shift this game, throw him out with one of the top two lines. Just reward it and see how it goes.
That could absolutely happen.
Of course.
These lines are not locked in and you can't change them.
Right. So I think that's probably Blashill's thing is look, I have my coaching approach has been accountability, meritocracy. I need to stand by that with Nick Lardis here. I can't stray from that just because our two best offensive players are hurt. But I do think at some point it's doing Nick Lardis a disservice if he's going to stay on the bottom six. Because look, you call him up because you need offense. Playing him with Sam Lafferty and Dominic Toninato is not going to help him create offense. So in that case, call up somebody else. Let Nick Lardis go back to Rockford. Let him light it up. Let him play top line, power play, everything. And give somebody a shot that's worked their ass off in Rockford. Maybe it's Brett Seney. Maybe he gets an NHL contract and comes up and plays some offense here.
Well, he's at the Spangler Cup right now.
That's true. Maybe it's finally Samuel Savoie, who's going to come and play on the fourth line and finish some checks and maybe add some offense you don't expect. But if you're just going to do this with Nick Lardis, and look, if he says Nick Lardis has not shown me enough to justify top six, fine, I can live with that. Then send him back.
Right.
Right? Or you know what? Call Korchinski up. Go back to 11-7. Get some offense from the back end. There's a lot of options you can do aside from playing Nick Lardis 8 minutes on the fourth line with two guys that were not in the opening night lineup, and Sam Lafferty and Dominic Toninato.
Yeah, it's kind of the message that Kyle Davidson has had this whole time about these young guys and these prospects, is that you want to put them in the right spots and you don't want to just throw them up just to have them buried in the lineup. Right. So I don't. Again, I think something could change in this game. I don't think Landon Slaggert plays the entire 60 minutes on the top line. I think things will eventually change and rotate, and as the game goes on and as different matchups present themselves. But I think you want to have those. If you're trying to say like these games matter and you're trying to win, I don't think Nick Lardis on the fourth line and Landon Slaggert on the top line tells you that they're going to win. If you're trying to balance out the lines,
maybe he's looking for balance.
If you're trying to balance out the lines amongst the forwards for offensive generation,
so you have an offensive player in every line that way.
Yeah, sure, but I don't know.
The way we're going to get this answer is at the end of the game how the ice time is distributed. If it's pretty even between the four lines, then you'll see he was just looking for four lines that he can roll.
Just a balance,
that maybe can score. But if you're seeing, the first two, maybe the top three, like really dominating that fourth line, plays 7-8 minutes, I think that's a mismanagement. I think, especially, whatever, Toninato and Lafferty, they can play 7-8 minutes. I don't care. Nothing against those guys, but they will not be here when the Hawks are good again. But if that's the case for Nick Lardis, then just send him back. Just send him back. I don't think it's any. Nick Lardis doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who's going to have his confidence shattered from being sent back. I think having his confidence shattered is playing in a role he's not designed to play, asking him to do things he's not really comfortable doing. The big question about Lardis from jump when he went to Rockford was, can he defend at the pro level?
Yeah,
and it hasn't been a total disaster, but he's basically all offense.
Yeah.
Now you're asking him to play a fourth line role. That's putting him in a bad spot.
He's a rookie. He's 20 still, like 20-year-old kid who's just last year put up 71 goals in the OHL and played a quarter of a AHL season.
Right. So
to think that he's going to have a more well-rounded game to throw him into a fourth line spot and say, hey, or be play a checking role, like that's unrealistic to say that he's going to succeed in that level. It's one thing to say like, here's a learning lesson. That's one thing. But I just think like he's not in a position that he needs to be in that spot. Now the team is in a spot where they're better with him on the roster without Bedard and without Nazar. But playing him this way, to me, it just doesn't seem like it works. So we'll see how this game goes. Like you said, the ice time is going to be a big indicator. We'll see how special teams units play out as well. This could be something where it's just like he plays on a fourth line, his 5v5 minutes are limited, and then he's on the power play. Like you use him that way, sure. You got to draw power plays, you got to draw penalties. So doing it against Dallas is going to be tough. It's going to be an interesting game.
Yeah.
Might not be fun, but it'll at least be interesting.
Do us a favor, hit that like button before we go. One more thing I want to see too, now that they've had several days off since their last game, last practice, I think it's very clear that Teuvo Teravainen has not been fully healthy since taking that puck to the face. Maybe there's some other stuff going on with him we don't know about either. I'm hoping we see Teuvo look a little bit better than he's looked over the last handful of games.
Would be nice.
Hopefully, 4 days of recover has gotten him kind of back to where he needs to be, feeling a little more healthy, feeling a little more with it. Mm-hmm. Look, having any sort of injury is tough, but when it's facial, it's like every time you're hit, every piece of contact is going to be painful. So I'm hoping that he looks better, because if the Hawks are going to win some games here without Bedard and Nazar, he is going to have to be one of the team's top scorers.
Can't be a secondary guy with those guys out.
He's been a guy who I've loved since his first stint here. I think all of us were very happy when he chose to sign here. Last year, back of the hockey card to start this year. Really good start. The last 10 games or so, Teuvo has been a bit of a ghost. There's got to be more from 86, and hopefully this is the night where he finds it, because they need it more than ever.
That would be nice.
All right. We will be back for the post-game show. Make sure you don't miss it. If the game goes as well, I predict, Mario's predicting victory. There was and we're not going to have a studio show, a non-pre or post-game show until January 6th.
Mm-hmm.
So we might dig in a little bit on the Ben Pope, Kyle Davidson interview that I know will get people talking and chatting post-game. So it won't be 100% on the game, probably. So we will talk to you then. Make sure you're with us. Make sure you hit that like button on your way out and subscribe so you get those alerts as soon as we go live. We'll talk to you after Hawks and Stars wrap things up right here on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast presented by Bet365.
We all silly like the mayor.